Tom, such an interesting, I mean, it's been like almost 5 years since Spotlight came out, and you've got 2 films coming out this year. This one that we're talking about today, Timmy Failure, maybe not what people would have expected as your first film since Spotlight.
Yeah, you're probably right.
How did this come about?
I don't know. I love the book. I love Stefan's writing, who's here with us, the author of the Timmy Failure series. And that it was simple as that. Someone put the book on my desk probably 10 years ago now or something crazy like that. I read it. I found it hilarious. I found the voice very unique. And I started thinking about it, and then Steph happened to be in town on a book tour, and we sat down and hit it off, and we pitched it to the guys at Disney, and they thought it was a cool idea. And that was the beginning of that. We started talking about it. So in the meantime, I made a few other movies, including Spotlight, and then I was ready to make another movie, which is also coming out this year, and it wasn't quite ready. And so I had an opening in my schedule, and I called Sean Bailey over at Disney and said, hey, if we can do this, I'd love to do it, and it happened. And then we had to find this guy to make it happen, which was no small feat.
How did you find this guy?
It's the one time in my life I felt like I couldn't even go into pre-production until I had a better handle on that and casting that role.
I probably did over 7 or 8 auditions.
Yes,
too.
auditions.
It was a long process. It was very long. It was very, very long.
Yeah. Very physical. We did this whole outdoors thing where we took him hiking to see how he would hold up, and if we could break him down, he didn't break down. No, it was like
they brought me to the dam, in fact.
We brought him to the dam?
Mm-hmm. They just hung me 20 feet up.
We dangled you safely. We did. We saw probably, hundreds and hundreds of young men for this role, and it's just a really tricky role to get right and to find someone who has that sensibility and can also handle the language. And luckily, we found Winslow in a nick of time, and it worked out very well.
Winslow, this role playing Timmy, requires a lot of attitude, and he runs his own detective agency. He has this friendship with this polar bear. What did you relate to about the character, and how did you learn to identify with him more?
I love things that are very mysterious, and jumping into things sometimes before I've even finished something else. And I think sometimes Timmy, he really just, okay.
You got it. It makes sense. How he skips from one thing to another, maybe?
Yeah, he skips. He's always moving around from one thing to another.
Yeah.
And he's always very prepared for the next thing before it even happens. And, yeah.
So cool. And what does it feel like to see your book, brought to the screen?
Yeah, it's crazy. Not a lot of authors get their books made into movies, and I think my situation is even more incredible because I wanted to write on the screenplay. So Tom was generous enough to let me do that because I had never written a movie before. So that was terrific. And then they brought me in on pre-production and production, so I was there every day. So it was just a huge film education. I loved every step of it.
Yeah, I mean, what was it about his writing that really appealed to you so much, Tom? You said that you fell in love with the book about 10 years ago.
Yeah, there was something just subversive about Timmy's voice, right? About how he approached the world. How this kid who had so many obstacles in his life and was in many ways so misguided, but he had this sort of infatigable spirit, like he was just not to be kept down, and such belief and confidence in himself, regardless of what everyone around him else was saying. And I found that just to be really charming and funny and something relatable to that. His resiliency in life to kind of keep coming back and keep coming back and keep believing in himself when even his mother stops believing in him. I found both powerful and in most cases just really funny.
And his strategic use of the passive voice, of course.
Of course. I mean, he's sort of like, how Steph sort of built this, right? The character's voice, his sort of nod to the noir films, but without leaning into it too much. So you still felt like, and it's a big credit to Winslow for being able to walk this line, that this kid is a real kid. He is one of those kids you meet along the way, and you're like, oh yeah, I remember Timmy. and it's tough to keep that grounded and also as heightened as it gets at times. And you really need an actor who can kind of play both sides of it.
You've made so many different kinds of films, and to me, Timmy Failure really does feel so much a part of your body of work, because of the unique personalities of the characters, even, some of the semantic edge there, mistakes were made and all of this. I mean, that feels like something that could have appeared like in Win-Win or The Cobbler or something. But what was it like working with Disney?
Terrific. I've worked with those guys over the years, writing for them in different capacities, but never writing and directing. And look, I think they were really excited about this movie, right? They felt like it was original, had an original voice, had an original kind of tone and structure. And I think they're always, now more than ever, they're really searching for films that sort of push the boundaries of what people are used to with them. And they really gave me a lot of leash to go do that. They were incredibly supportive. We're making it for Disney Plus, but we shot it like a movie. We had everything we needed along the way, and we could, cast who we wanted, and they were just incredibly supportive. So, great experience.